What caused the shift from classic to new Hollywood? Imagine a time when Hollywood was like a well-oiled machine, churning out big-budget musicals and epic dramas that everyone loved. But then, everything started to change, and not because people stopped going to movies. The shift from the old studio system to what we now call New Hollywood happened because of a mix of money problems, new technology, and a cultural revolution. First, the old Hollywood studio system, which had been around since the 1920s, started losing money fast in the early 1960s. Big movies like Ben-Hur and the Ten Commandments cost a lot to make, with huge sets, colorful costumes, and fancy sound. But audiences began to lose interest, and theaters closed because they couldn't keep up with the rising costs. For example, the film Cleopatra from 1963 went way over budget and nearly bankrupted 20th Century Fox. Even popular musicals like The Sound of Music and My Fair Lady, which used to make a lot of money, started to slow down in ticket sales. At the same time, television became a huge competitor. People could now watch shows and movies for free at home. This hit theaters hard, and many movie theaters shut down. Studios didn't want to admit it at first, but they had to accept that television was here to stay. They had to find new ways to attract audiences. Then came the legal blow in 1948 with the Supreme Court case United States versus Paramount Pictures. This decision stopped studios from owning their own theaters and made them sell off their chains. It meant studios couldn't control what people watched in theaters anymore. This opened the door for independent theaters and foreign films to come in, changing the entire movie scene. Meanwhile, a new generation of young people, called baby boomers, grew up with different ideas. They didn't want the old stories about moral heroes and happy endings. They wanted movies that reflected their real lives, with more honesty and rebellion. The culture was changing fast, with protests against war and fights for civil rights. Hollywood's older executives didn't understand this new vibe, and their films seemed out of touch. Then, in 1967, two films changed everything. The Graduate and Bonnie and Clyde pushed boundaries with sex and violence, topics that had been forbidden under the old Hays Code. These movies showed that audiences were hungry for stories that felt real and daring. The next year, the Hays Code was officially replaced with a new rating system, giving filmmakers more freedom to explore tough subjects. Young directors who understood what the new audience wanted started making movies. Many of them were inspired by European cinema and the French New Wave, bringing fresh ideas and personal visions to Hollywood. They believed the director should be the main creative force, not the studio. Finally, the rise of blockbuster films like Jaws and Star Wars in the 1970s proved that audiences still loved the theater experience. These movies showed that big, exciting, and visually stunning films could draw huge crowds and save Hollywood from its troubles. So, the shift from classic to new Hollywood was driven by money problems, legal changes, cultural shifts, and new creative voices. It was a time when young filmmakers took control and changed the way movies were made, making Hollywood more honest, daring, and exciting.